Hey, Charger fans, guess what? It's Chiefs week. The regular season is finally here. The Chargers will play Friday in Brazil against the Chiefs. I cannot wait to get this show on the road in Sao Paulo against the Chiefs. Welcome back to another episode of the Electric Edge podcast. My name is Taylor, and I am the host of the Electric Edge podcast. In this episode, I'm going to go through my top 5 keys for the Chargers to beat the Chiefs this Friday in Brazil. Now, before I get started, I do want to mention to everyone who's tuned in to the Electric Edge podcast since I started it at the end of June. I really appreciate all of your support so far. It's been amazing to see the channel grow, fans engage with me on YouTube and on X, and recently on TikTok and Instagram. Really appreciate all your support so far. This started out as a passion project for me. I've been a Chargers fan for over 20 years. I love the Chargers. I love talking Chargers football. So being able to share that with all you has been pretty special to me. So I appreciate all your support so far, and we're going to keep this thing growing. And it's going to be a great season for the Chargers. I'm very optimistic, and I'm looking forward to see Justin Herbert beat Mahomes for only the second time in his career. So before we jump in, be sure to like and subscribe to Electric Edge Podcast on YouTube. Follow me on X at Electric Edge Pod. I'm also on TikTok now at Electric Edge Pod, and I am on Instagram at Electric Edge Pod. So I've added some more social media channels for you to engage me with. So please give me a follow, and also would love to hear your comments on this episode about the Chargers playing the Chiefs. What are your takeaways? What are some things you'd like to see? And what do you think the final score is going to be? So without further ado, let's jump in to week 1. So I looked at some of the odds today for the game on Friday, and the Chiefs are about a 3 to 3.5 point favorite, which is fine. They're defending the AFC champions. But I think the Chargers are going in there to prove a point. They have a mission. And regardless of the injuries the Chargers have had, the same can be said for the Chiefs. So I'm going to go through my 5 keys for the Chargers winning in Brazil. And a lot of it comes from things we saw last year. Some of the times when the Chargers had won games, there was distinct patterns in their defensive and offensive play that they had wins. So I'm going to go through some of those pieces. So let's jump into point 1. So first point, keep Justin Herbert upright. So as of right now, the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line is ranked 15th by PFF. Chris Jones is primarily their top defensive player on that line. George Karlaftis, I think, is ranked in the mid-60s as far as defensive ends. Yes, there are issues with our offensive line, but the Kansas City defensive line is pretty average. I think having all on Herbert's blind side is definitely a benefit. I'd be pretty crazy to see if we didn't have all who would play left tackle, but I think he slides in great there. Pipkins has had experience playing right tackle. You have Salyer as well, who can slide in if need be. But having Joe Walton on Herbert's blind side is definitely going to be beneficial to keeping him upright. So there's a stat I found from last season. So when Justin Herbert had a clean pocket to throw, he threw 18 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. You just need to give him time to throw the ball and let things develop. Also, compared to last year, Herbert has more weapons to choose from, right? Keenan Allen's back. You have 2 physical running backs who can catch out of the backfield. Ladd may have an all-pro year this year. Quentin Johnson has developed. And you drafted 2 wide receivers. Plus you added Tyler Conklin, Oronde Gadsden too. More weapons gives Justin Herbert more variety. You just need to give him a few seconds to find the open man and keep that offense on the field. So on PFF.com, and I'm going to pull this up as well because I had found this, which was pretty interesting. There's some articles about going into the game against Kansas City. So it says Herbert faces tough challenge from Chiefs pass rush. Herbert has the 8th biggest difference in passing grade when clean versus pressured. Second highest grade when clean, but pressured severely impacts his performance. The Chiefs defense has the 4th highest pressure rate in the NFL, so they could disrupt Herbert's passing attack. So the Chargers have to use these short, quick passes, whether it's we're throwing it to the running back out of the backfield, we're hitting quick slants. We have to keep the ball moving, and we have to get the ball out quickly. And then it also mentions here, Justin Herbert primed to take advantage of KC's 2 high coverages. Justin Herbert is the 3rd highest graded quarterback when facing 2 high coverage shells. The Chiefs defense plays 2 high coverages at the highest rate in the NFL, making them a prime matchup for Herbert's strengths. You just got to give him time. If the Chargers can give Justin Herbert time to throw the ball, they're going to be successful on Friday. Let's go on to point 2, and that is establish the run game early. The Chargers have to rush for 100 yards on Friday. There's no exceptions. Last year, I saw a stat a couple weeks ago that when the Chargers rushed for over 100 yards a game, they had a winning record. So whether it's a combination of Hampton and Harris, they need to have a combined rushing total of over 100 yards on Friday for them to be successful. And here's just some points from last season. So when the Chargers beat the Raiders week 1 last year, J.K. Dobbins had 135 yards rushing. When the Chargers lost to the Ravens on Monday Night Football, the Chargers had 83 total rushing yards. You got to keep the ball moving on the ground. You got to run the clock out, keep the Chiefs off the field. The run game is going to help the pass game. It is imperative that the run game is established early, and both running backs are even. You could throw in Hassan Haskins too, and Herbert if you have QB design runs. We need to have over 100 yards rushing on Friday. The other point about having an established run game is running the clock. So Mahomes and the Chiefs thrive when they have time of possession on the field. So looking at some of their wins and losses from last year, their loss January 5th, which they didn't play starters. They held the ball for only 18 minutes and lost 38-0. When they won against Pittsburgh, they had 28 minutes of possession. Win against Carolina was 33 minutes of possession. Denver was 33 minutes of possession. That was the November 10th game. Against Tampa Bay, they had 40 minutes of possession. When they lost at Buffalo, they had 25 minutes of possession. So you see between that 18 and 25 minute threshold that the Chiefs lost, and then anything above that, they win. So we need to run the clock. And I know that's part of Harbaugh's game is running the clock down, keeping the opposing offense off the field. But that's also imperative why the run game needs to be established early on Friday. Keep Mahomes off the field and you have a chance to win. On to point 3. So winning the turnover battles. Last year, the Chargers finished the 24 regular season with a plus 12 turnover differential, ranking 3rd in the NFL. The defense has to get pressure on Mahomes, force him to make bad throws, maybe a pick or two. Maybe there's a fumble, but we need to force turnovers against the Chiefs. So last year also the Chargers averaged 1.24 takeaways per game, and the Chargers won 11-6. So if we can increase that turnover rate this year, we're going to be in a great position. So we also need to kill the momentum for the Chiefs. The Chiefs typically will capitalize on short fields. So you always see Mahomes, he'll get the ball back at the opposing 40 and somehow go down the field in a minute and a half. So this was according to StatMuse. The Kansas City Chiefs scored 385 points in games where they forced at least one takeaway during the 24 regular season. So we can't make mistakes. We have to win the turnover battle, keep Mahomes off the field. And then I also want to point out, going back to the Super Bowl against the Eagles, if you put pressure on Mahomes, he'll break. Right? So Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl faced a 38.1% pressure rate and had a QBR of 11.4 with 3 turnovers. I don't know what the defensive scheme is going to be, but the Chargers have to keep their foot on the gas and keep pressure on Mahomes and have him contained and don't let him run all over the field. Put the pressure on him. He's going to make mistakes. It's that simple. So I hope Minter has a plan based on last year's film, watching the Super Bowl film, to come up with a plan to keep pressure on Mahomes all night long on Friday. Okay, number 4, red zone execution. The Chargers will not win if all they do is kick field goals and not score over 20 points on Friday. Last year in the 2 games against the Chiefs, first game at home, the Chiefs won 17-10. So you had a touchdown and a field goal. Week 14 at Arrowhead, the Chargers lost. They had 1 field goal, and I think that the Chargers had lost on an expiring field goal. The Chargers have to score more than 20 points. It's that simple. I mean, the Chiefs haven't scored over 20 points against us with the matchups last year, but the Chargers need to score more than 20 points in order to have a shot at beating the Chiefs on Friday. So we cannot be first and goal and somehow only get a field goal out of it. Greg Roman needs to figure out how to move pieces around to score touchdowns. There's no way that we can be in the red zone and not score touchdowns against the Chiefs and expect to win. That's just not going to happen. I also think that Herbert has his safety blanket back with Keenan Allen. He has more weapons that he can use in the red zone. You have a better run game also in the red zone this year. I also have something I'm going to mention after I go through my last point that I want you to keep an eye out for on Friday that could also be part of this red zone package. But regardless, the Chargers have to capitalize on red zone opportunities and score touchdowns and not settle for field goals. On to the last point. We need to stop the Mahomes voodoo, black magic, whatever you want to call it. The Eagles did a phenomenal job in the Super Bowl containing him, putting pressure on him, forcing him to create turnovers. So the Chargers, whatever Minter decides to do, have a linebacker spy on him. Don't let him start leaving the pocket. And also, you'll watch film of Mahomes, and he'll be past the line of scrimmage, and he'll do this flick where he thinks he's going to throw a forward pass. The defense can't fall for it. Clean tackles on him, put pressure on him. Always have a defender watching where he goes. If you contain him, put pressure on him, he's going to crack. The Eagles laid out that blueprint in the Super Bowl. You need to make sure that we're forcing checkdowns on Mahomes too. Don't let Xavier Worthy go up the field for a 50-yard bomb. Make Mahomes throw 3, 4, 5-yard passes. Keep him contained. If you keep him contained, he's not going to run. And then also, we can't let Travis Kelce just do whatever he wants on the field. So I know this has been done in the past, but Derwin James needs to be on him all night. Do not let him slip away. Do not let him be in front of the offensive line where Mahomes just throws a shuttle pass to him. Need to stop that. Yes, Kelce's 35 doesn't mean that he still can't be productive. Even with a down year last year, I think he had over 900 receiving yards. I say that's a pretty good year. I'm hoping Minter has his strategy built up to contain Mahomes, have someone on Kelce, and don't give up the deep ball. If we can do that on defense, we're going to have a very successful night in Brazil. So I've decided that I want to add a new segment to the show, and I'm going to do this after every episode where I'm either doing a recap or looking forward into a next game. But this is going to be called the Bolt Blast. So this is going to be a take or an opinion that I think may happen in the red zone. Maybe you have both quarterbacks on the field. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but that is my Bolt Blast of this episode, to look out for Trey Lance to get possibly a snap on Friday in a red zone situation. I also wouldn't be surprised if he gets a snap in a 3rd or 4th down too. Let me know if you agree, disagree with that Bolt Blast. So with that being said, I am super excited for Friday. I can't wait for the season to get started. I can't wait to talk more Chargers football with you all. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts. So as always, leave me comments below. Let me know what you think the final score will be. I think the Chargers win 23-20 on Friday. Yes, the Chiefs are a favorite, but I don't think that matters going into Brazil. I think the Chargers know that they have a point to prove. And I think I had mentioned this too in my episode when I went to training camp talking to the Spanish play-by-play announcer, where he's like, there's just a different vibe in the building. There's an expectation. There's a standard. And he mentioned to me, I asked him if he heard anything about what the team's thoughts were going to Brazil. And he mentioned it's just another business trip. It's to get things done. So I think the Chargers are going to capitalize on this opportunity, playing on a big stage. Justin Herbert, I hope, plays with a chip on his shoulder. Shut up all the haters and people who talk smack about him, especially with the loss to the Texans. He can rewrite that script real quick on Friday. So like I said, leave me your final score in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about how the Chargers could beat the Chiefs on Friday. And what are you looking most forward to on Friday? I try to read all my comments and respond to all fans, so would love to hear your input. So I will catch you on the next episode of the Electric Edge podcast. As always, go Chargers and bolt up.